Good morning, good morning. It is the 4th of July and I'm out walking my dog in a high vis and talking about education, and it has been a while since I've done so. Gosh, the summer holidays came and I had every intention of doing these walks during the week, but I just found I couldn't. It was just time flew. I've done my first week of the July provision. I have a new pair of glasses. I have the same dog, but he's very unhappy with me because he had to rely on somebody else to give him his walks because could not get up early enough. I don't know what it is. I don't know if other teachers find or anyone else working in education finds the first week of the summer holidays. I don't know. It's almost like when you stop, that's when you get even more tired. I just simply couldn't get up that bit earlier to give my poor dog his morning walk, having to listen to me rant while I'm doing so. But that's not what I wanted to talk to you about today on the 4th of July. I don't even want to talk about the 4th of July, which of course is American Independence Day, because there's really nothing to talk about that country these days. It's a weird thing, really, isn't it? What I do want to talk about is something that's kind of slipped under my radar a little bit, but is very relevant to our unconvention talk, which I'm hoping to start raising again while we're in the summer holidays, while people might have some time now to think about it a little bit, which is the discussion that we've been having on special education. But something that slipped under my radar was the vote Forza had with the SNA. There was a ballot, they call it, on whether the SNAs would accept a new deal for I suppose, around their conditions and so on. And the deal, when it came out, if I remember correctly, seemed to be positively responded to by people talking about education. It established new roles for the SNA, kind of updated them from what they were, made them a little bit more flexible, and so on. And I sensed there was positivity from them. In not, I wouldn't say the majority or anything like that. I just sensed there was positivity from what I was reading from some of the commentators out there on social media who talk about SNA conditions and so on. And then the vote came and it was fairly heavily defeated. It wasn't accepted by SNAs. And I really have kind of questions around it. Firstly, from myself, which is just to be curious about why that was. I asked on my social media feed about people's thoughts on it, and all of the responses I got back were from SNAs, usually quite experienced SNAs, who said they were really disappointed that it was rejected. They felt it was a step in the right direction. Now, I always find that a troublesome phrase, but I'm just using it because that was what was used. Some people commented that they felt that people were drowned out by loud voices and then voted. I also, when I hear that, I get curious about that and wonder about that, because, that's not something, I always think you need loud voices because there are very few of them out there. And I feel if people were being very quiet, maybe they shouldn't have been. So where was the debate? Maybe we might have asked about that. And if it was loud voices that influenced the vote there, well, what work has to be done then? And maybe that's something we can focus on, or I can help people focus on if that's something people want. So they were kind of, and I have to say I was kind of surprised that 100% of the responses I got to it were disappointed by the ballot results. And it wasn't from teachers, it was from SNAs. There was actually I don't think there were any teachers. It's hard to tell with Instagram what people are, but I sensed from what the comments were, the people commenting were SNAs themselves. So that was kind of interesting. And again, I have no skin in the game here, and I don't have any feelings on it. As I said, this slipped through my radar. I didn't know that the ballot was actually happening, which annoys me because I like to keep on top of things. The second source, as it happens, happened by accident. I have a friend of mine, Angela Dunn, who was up in the Oireachtas Committee, the Joint Oireachtas Committee, talking about special education, and I was watching the Joint Oireachtas who were talking about a principal's views on, I suppose, the collapse of special education, and I suppose while I'm at it, just a bit of an aside, my goodness, I'm not saying, there was one or two of the politicians who were there who were very impressive. Jen Cummins, for me, stands out, asking sensible questions. I didn't catch a couple of the other names. I suppose I know Jen Cummins better than others, but the majority of the politicians, particularly ones that were in teaching themselves, I was really disappointed by some of the questions. There's one in particular who was a teacher and I think a principal, who talked about having tea and biscuits every couple of weeks with the inspector. It's a stunningly out of touch sort of people asking stunningly out of touch questions around it. I felt the leaders who spoke, the school leaders, that's Angela and the rest of the gang, the IPPN were there with Deirdre Kelly, another friend of mine, and they all were very impressive. I must say, they spoke very well, and I think when it came to one of the questions, getting back to my point, because we will talk about special education more broadly in maybe in another day, because I do want to focus on the SNA ballot. One of the politicians was Ruth Coppinger from People Before Profit. I have a lot of time for People Before Profit. I know a lot of people don't. I like the disruptors. I like people who think left of centre in both definitions of that word, to ask the awkward questions maybe at the wrong time, and that's exactly what Ruth did. She got a lot of feedback from SNAs who had voted against it, and it seems from her questioning, which had little to do with what the topic was, I'll grant it, but she wanted to find out from the principals that were there why the feedback she had got seemed to come from the fact that SNAs feel they are essentially abused by school leaders, and that's why they voted against the ballot, because there's this sort of part of it is this 72 hours non-contact time, and SNAs feared that 72 hours of non-contact time would be abused for jobs that were outside their remit. And that seems to be where things were at there. Now, obviously, I didn't get any details because I have no access to Ruth's accounts. But I think, just looking at the comments that were there, that seems to be the thing. So a lack of trust, maybe, in school leaders. Now, going back to the debate that was on, it's just a relevant point. Principals are not recognised for managing SNAs in a school, and this is just a minor point. It's something maybe that was brought up and might need to be looked at. So, is there a deal here where the INTO and Forsa have to look at this so that there are ground rules and principals are paid or recognised for managing SNAs? Currently they're not, and how that would work, what's allowed, what's not allowed. Would that get the deal over? Because it does sound like, to me, just based on these two separate opinions, that one from my social media feed and one from Ruth Coppinger's social media feed, and also just reading a couple of the comments from other commentators, is the reason people were not in favour of the ballot seems to be a lack of trust in how principals will treat SNAs, and I'm simplifying this, and the disappointment for it not being accepted was because this was going to professionalise SNAs. And I suppose this is all about questions. My questions really are around, how do we get to a point where all the positives from the SNA working guidelines can be accepted? How can we get SNAs to trust school leaders? How can we get school leaders to understand what's okay and what's not okay? What are the jobs that principals are asking SNAs to do, and why are they asking SNAs to do them? Why do they not have somebody else to do these kind of jobs? And I think some of those jobs, are jobs that should be done in schools, but just not by SNAs. Obviously, like, they aren't paid to be cleaners and other such jobs that were mentioned. There's three questions to start off with, and I feel if we started looking at those, then we might start to open up a discussion there, particularly for the Young Convention, around the role of SNAs in special education, because that's something clearly that needs more discussion. So maybe we'll use the Young Convention and special education for that. Okay, that's a long time for talking. It's a much longer podcast, but I have been away for a week, and I hope to be talking a little bit more on the Young Convention over the summer. And I hope you're enjoying your summer holidays, and I will chat to you next time I wake up early enough. Bye.